everybody, and welcome back to another episode of WWOW Talk. Today we have a special guest here. This is going to be an interview, and this topic that we're having is it brings up a lot of controversy and a lot of emotion. So, in this interview, what I want to do is we're just going to do the interview first, and then I asked Christian, who's doing the interview, if he would be all right with questions and answers after the interview, and he said that it was okay. Usually, I let people ask questions during the interviews if the speaker agrees to let that happen. But this time, I did it because I've had experiences where it can go south real quick if I allow people to talk while we're doing the actual interview. So, with that being said, I do want to say that my guest for today is a guy that I had met through World Pirate Radio Network, Jeffy Ryder, or Captain Sinclair, whichever, hint, hint. It is, it could be both. It could be separate, two separate people, but I don't think so. But anyhow, he said that me and Christian should meet and talk, and I thought it was a good idea. And before I could even send a message to him, bam, here Christian was sending me a message saying Jeffy wanted to get in touch, us to get in touch with each other. So this is pretty good. Now, before we get started, I'd like to have Christian introduce himself, kind of give us a background about himself, and let everybody get to know him. Would you mind doing that for me, Christian?
Yeah, sure. First, thanks for having me on your show. And my name is Chris Laterreur. I'm a survivor of the MK Ultra project, called the Monarch Project. And I'm here to talk about this. So, yeah.
Okay, now you're from Canada too, right? Yeah, no, you're from Canada too, right?
Yeah, I was from Quebec originally.
Okay. Now, are you okay with using your last name, or?
Yeah, I don't mind.
Okay, because I know you've been on a couple other interviews, so if anybody's watching, they'd be able to find you easier. I've actually gone through and done some research before we did this, so I could have at least some talking points,
Yeah.
So, if you don't mind, could you tell people what your full name is?
Yeah, Chris Laterreur.
Laterreur. See, I was curious about that too, because I could tell that had some French tones to it. I didn't know how to pronounce it, so I'll just call you Christopher.
Yeah, Christian or Chris. Yeah, that's good.
Okay. So, is there anything else you want to say about your background?
I'll explain a bit through my story, but
okay.
I was recruited at 6 years old by the CIA in this project, and pretty much all my friends got recruited too, and so we're a bunch of survivor, and
okay.
I want to get the story out, the real story, because there's a lot of stories and legends and kinds of but I think the real story is probably worse than all those little other stories and stuff inspired of it. So yeah.
Okay. Now, you were talking before on another interview about a book that you had that got banned. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that and let everybody know what happened there with that situation.
Yeah, I wrote a book. It's called The Montauk Boys, Terror at Montauk, The Last Moments of Camp Hero. And as soon as I put it online on Amazon, it didn't take 24 hours. I got banned for life. They removed the book. They told me the sales you did, you won't get the money. I got all the screenshots of those texts. Really, just no reason, like yeah, really, like just so. Yeah, the book is really censored. It's hard to get. The only place you can get it, it's on lulu.com, like in a ebook format, like so yeah. But that's the truth, and this book was originally made. Uh, it wasn't a book, it was my testimony for the action class against the Allen Memorial Hospital in Montreal. It's the CIA hospital. They were doing tests there, and I spoke with Ann Diamond and enough reason, and they convinced me that like people needed to know the truth behind the everything. Like I was a kind of the missing link of the story. So yeah, so we added like little sections here and there. That's the temporary book, because kind of a lifesaver edition, because you can't start talking and not releasing something, because you'll get so at least I released that, uh just to avoid to have problems. So yeah, now
Now,
uh
now you mentioned the Montauk boys. Now that kind of stuck out to me whenever you referred to that. So I was wondering if maybe you could kind of give us a background story on the reason why you came up with the term the Montauk boys.
well, that was because MK Ultra had probably 200 sub project, okay, and they change of name to Monarch, and but a few of us were sent to this place. That was the hardest place you could go. 1% of us made it out alive of there.
Mm-hmm.
Kids were dying. Yeah, it was a place we were kept in cage. I was 8 years old when I was sent there, and kept in cage, no bed and panties. The floors were like concrete floors, soaked wet, blood everywhere. We were
Now
they were coming to see us there.
Now, I was wanting to get to all that too, because I did see that in your interviews. But before we start getting into that, I want to kind of get into some other stuff that you were discussing that really stuck out to me. And I do have what you were referring to on my talking points, because I've heard you talk about this stuff before, okay, on other interviews. But the one thing that I do want to get into that you mentioned before, okay, and it concerns you being kidnapped as a child. You said you were 6 years old when you were kidnapped, right?
No, I wasn't kidnapped. I was recruited at 6 years old.
Okay.
What happened? The preschool brought us to a job fair, and people were talking about their trades there. Different booths, different trades, little tables with stuff about their trades, and the last booth was military and cops, and they had guns, drug samples, and they offered us to participate in a secret project.
Okay.
So we had some checklists to fill out, and we all wanted to be badass, spies, assassins, mercenaries, Green Beret, all that stuff. So the teachers were there, are you sure? Because we were 6 years old, how can you make choice for your life at that age,
Mm-hmm.
So anyway.
Now, what kind
Yeah.
of what kind of questions and stuff like that were they having you do on this checklist? Could you kind of elaborate on that and kind of give us an example of some of the questions?
Yeah, all about it was different, they were talking about different aspect in the military kind of thing, or in the cops, investigator, or all kinds of branches, medic, or stuff that you would be attracted to. But yeah, there were a lot of for black ops, for mercenary green beret and like spies. That was the main thing, like I think.
Okay. So they were basically wanting to find out what you would be interested in. At least it appeared that way. Like,
Yeah, yeah, those were checklists, like about you know like things in those fields, but not. We were 6 years old, so like the questions were pretty much basic too, but that was the first checklist. But we had like regular checklists like that to do after, to size up our taste, like what we like, what we dislike, just to know us perfectly,
mm-hmm.
so.
Yeah. Yeah, I these checklists, so that they were basically being introduced to you over and over again, and they were keeping tabs of what you were thinking and how you and stuff of that nature is what you're saying, right? So
Yeah,
you were constantly being questioned on this and this and this, and they wanted you to fill them out. So
yeah,
that's good. That was one thing that really stuck out to me whenever you were doing your interviews, because you kept mentioning these checklists, and nobody really ever asked you about them, and wanted to figure out what it was that were on that list. Like this
yeah.
this is the first time I've heard you say actually that they gave you these checklists over and over again.
Yeah, and just to follow up on us, they were we were really they were investing a lot of money on us, to build us, they were flying us everywhere, so that was yeah, they have a logbook of each of us, so.
Okay. Now, also something else that you talked about was whenever you got involved with these guys, that they they pretty much had you go home and have your parents sign papers for the
Yeah,
recruitment. Could you kind of go into that for us and tell us a little
yeah,
bit about that?
they sent us back from that job fair, with the papers to show to our parents, and if they were in a cart, and they were okay with this, to bring back the paper, and we would get an appointment from there. So we all did this, me and my buddies, I brought this to my mom, because my dad was working at the Bay James while I got recruited. So yeah, my mom filled out those papers. I was all there. I was all motivated. Please, please, please. It looked so cool. The show that we're selling was nice, for a kid. But yeah, till you get in the real thing. So anyway, so we got this appointment when I brought the papers back, and in the appointment they were just talking to my mom, and spinning her head around, a few important people. Oh, he's gonna be a genius, it's just through light traumas, and with the hypnose, and he won't remember nothing, blah 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 blah. And yeah, there were it was like a pressure cell, a machine to recruit kids.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and the money was good too. They were giving good money to the parents. So yeah, that's how I got recruited. So
Yeah. No.
and,
When
my mom
uh,
was working with the cops in the same office, so she trusted them. She had no idea what, and the thing too. When we were in this appointment, they told us that because we wanted that, not to complain about it, and we weren't allowed to talk to our parents, and our parents weren't allowed to talk about or ask us question about what was going on in those tests. So and they made stuff in that project that to make us so uncomfortable that we wouldn't talk about it, like
Mm-hmm.
crazy stuff. So yeah.
Well, now, when you mentioned that before, that's kind of something that stuck out to me, and like we just went over the papers and the checklist. Now, you said in previous interviews that your parents weren't aware, um, and you also said that parents couldn't ask questions about what had happened, and the kids couldn't tell them anything either. Um,
It could be a test to see if we were talking or whatever. We wanted to be spies. We wanted to be like, like the real thing. So, like, we couldn't mess around and like, yeah, I was motivated. Like,
no, did they make it appear as though as that's what it was, to where it was training you and things of that nature, or did they tell you
what?
bad things would happen if you told?
Yeah, like at some point, threatening to kill my parents or like stuff like that. Like, like there's a phase in my young age, like where I was waiting till my mom goes to sleep, and I was going next to the door in the back. I was grabbing a knife, and I was staying there all night till the morning comes up. And I was like, when the sun was coming up, I was going to sleep a few hours before school, because like I was scared, like, and I thought they were coming by the back door. So like I was always there, yeah. So that's a few years of that. So
Yeah, that's one thing that I really noticed whenever I seen it. I thought that would be something that we would discuss, because, like I said, whenever I watched the interviews, it was like you wanted to bring this stuff up, but it to me personally, and I'm not saying anything bad about anybody. I'm just saying it didn't seem like the questions were structured. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
to where you could actually tell your story and let people hear it, and be able to say everything that you wanted to say about it. So that's kind of what I'm wanting to do here. I'm
oh,
wanting to,
that's nice.
you know what I mean, so that you have a chance to say everything and be able to get your message out to people and the way you want it. You know what I mean? If there's something else that pops up while we're talking that I don't have on my talking point, I'll add it on and I'll go back and we'll talk about it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, with your parents, after your parents and you weren't talking to one another and telling each other what was going on, you also mentioned that kids didn't use their real names. There either. Like, I believe you said your name there was Duncan Carmen.
Duncan Cameron, and
Cameron.
like that was for Montauk. Like, but for Montauk, we weren't using our real names, and like for other place too. But like at the certification, when we had like our cards and all, and like the insurance papers, and like like our numbers and all. Yeah, like we had that name too, but we couldn't like tell it to our other friends or whatever. What was the other name? Like, so this is papers that we had to bring to our parents, and parents were keeping them, and like so that's like the pension papers and stuff like that. And
Yeah. Now, I, I would like to get into Montauk and talk about that right off, but before we do that, there are some other things that you had mentioned that I think would be interesting to talk about before we get there. Okay, now you had mentioned quite a few times about handlers.
yeah,
Okay, and from what we're talking about now, the first thing that popped up in your conversation was the cops, and you said
hmm
that your mom had been working for the police force, I guess, before all
yeah, in
this
the same
occurred.
office, not they were in the same building. Like she was a government employee too,
Hmm.
but like in another division or whatever. So yeah.
Now, this relationship that she had with these police officers, was it one where they like hung out with each other and had conversations and stuff like that, or was it just they went to work and uh, and she came home and that was it?
Well, that I know of, yeah, like they were just like like co-workers seeing daily and like talking and like like my mom was nice, like they were nice too, like like the sweetest two-faced